Hey, how are you all? So, I talked to this lady about 2.5 years, 3 years back. Okay. She's really mystical. She has an aura of out of the world aura, kind of. Okay. So, I talked to her about my healing practice. And you know what? In the same week, my life took a new turn. Totally, I went in a different direction. My IT business boomed, and it's like, I was asking for something and it showed up in a totally different way. I couldn't even do contribute anything in the healing practice, but I didn't miss it either. My healing, my IT business gave me so much in the past 2.5 years, and she didn't even know this until now. So so if you want to change your life, of course, for greater good, and if you are looking to receive from this mystical lady, please carry on. Hey Ruth, how are you today?
Oh, it's so nice to speak to you. Yeah, I didn't even know, of course, I didn't know about that at all, except I have heard it before from other people. So,
Yeah, so you are the culprit for my IT business. Then-
I have a capacity, it seems, to bring business to people's businesses.
oh,
I do it all the time. It's like people who've got nothing going on in their business all of
uh-huh.
a sudden have got customers coming to them. So it's I love it.
How does it get any better than say, bring it on, universe, bring it on, Ruth, for all of us, all the viewers.
It would be it's a pleasure. It's really, I love it. I love it.
Excellent, great. So, Ruth, as I said, you have a kind of different kind of vibe for me. I've been seeing you on Facebook for long, and your videos have a different kind of energy. So,
Mm.
where did all this start? And another thing I wanted to say about you is you are kind of undefinable. For me, I'm unable to pin you down on anything. Okay, so do tell us a little bit more about you and the affinity towards working with animals, animal spirits, and receiving from animals.
Wow. Thank you so much. So where does it all start? Well, I would have to say, I remember my first memory. This comes from a space beyond this planet. I remember coming to the planet. It sounds so
Why
completely
am I
crazy,
not surprised? Okay.
but that is what happened. That and I was really grateful my whole life to have that memory because with the memory of where I came from and what life can be like has sustained me through a lot of tricky times.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Amazing. Mm.
yeah. So when I arrived here, then I always knew um, I wouldn't necessarily have words for it because it was all internal. I didn't have anyone to
Mhm.
speak about these things until later on. I used to speak to my mother about it. But I've always been about, I suppose, what we call consciousness. And so that's really, I love that you said it was undefinable, the place that you perceive me being or whatever. But it includes everything, doesn't it? It's there's no there's no space where consciousness isn't, even where there is unconsciousness and anti-consciousness, there is still consciousness there. So it's literally, it includes absolutely everything. And you were speaking specifically about the stuff that I do with animal consciousness, and when I was little, I was life was not exactly fun. I
Uh-huh.
actually I actually didn't know what the word fun meant. It was a very serious family that I
Mhm.
was born into, and there was abuse, violence, control, and I didn't. I smiled very broadly now, but that was a choice I made when I was about 17, 18. Up until that time, um, somebody told me recently that they'd never seen me smile as a child.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So yeah. So then, so when you were saying about animal consciousness, well, I always had a particular affinity with animals, and I know that doesn't mark me apart from anybody else. There are many people who appreciate something about animals which isn't really available so much in other ways, or it's not so easily discernible somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but um, animals showed up for me in quite a different way. In fact, actually, funnily enough, only last week, or was it only this week, my sister was saying to me how she remembers my dog and I say my dog, it was a family dog. We were inseparable. We were always together. But what I don't know that anybody in my family really got about me was that I would be communicating with my dog pretty much the whole time. And sometimes I would have formal lessons with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And I
So
said,
which way is it? Is it mutual or is it one way?
well, that's an interesting question. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what would happen was I'd walk into my bedroom and my dog would be sitting on my bed, and my dog would say to me, I mean, it was all with energy,
Yeah, yeah, of course,
but
yeah.
he would say to me, sit down, it's time for class. And I would sit down with him and I would just receive downloads and downloads and downloads of information. It was like receiving terabytes at a time or
Wow,
bigger.
how old were you?
Um, I would have been, actually, I'm not entirely sure how old I was, to be quite
Uh-huh.
honest.
But
Um,
as a child, is it?
as a child,
Oh,
fairly
okay.
small, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it he was an amazing teacher. He taught me many things, but those times when he would where those kinds of things would happen, um, that happened a few times, and the rest of the time when he'd be showing me stuff, it would be a very different energy. But these were times when I was to be sitting with him, where he facilitated me receiving information that was way ahead of the curve, like I was born in 1970, and um, the world was a very different place in those days. So, and my
Right.
life was a very different life in those
Mm-hmm.
days. So the information that I was getting, I mean, even now, is quite extraordinary, because again, it's about energy. And I anyway, but yeah, so I would have this thing going on with my dog. This is just to try and like speak about a lot of things in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, when I don't know, like I can remember particularly like 15 or 20 years ago, things started to change with animals and me, and it would keep um, speeding up or becoming stranger or weirder or whatever it is you want to say, just a little bit more different. And yes, I can communicate with animals, and I can do the normal kind of, it's not normal, but I do animal communication in the relatively usual sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes clients come to me and they ask me to facilitate stuff for their animals, and I love those sessions. Um, but what I've mostly been doing for the last decade or so is I've been facilitating group sessions where we play with animal consciousness, where, say, for example, we are, like, you might have heard the name of an oversoul. Do you
What
know
is
what
it? Oversoul?
an oversoul?
No.
So imagine, for example, you've got wolves, you've got, let's say, 10 different kinds of wolves on the planet, and each of those, so they're the individual wolves in different packs and stuff like that, and then there will be like an overlighting energy for those wolves, and then further up for all wolves together.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Kind of, I get it. Okay, that was one of my questions. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so we undertook a series of sessions going back, I don't know, 10-15 years ago, where I would actually, I'm not very good with remembering time.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, you're out of
time.
beyond time. Okay.
Yeah, it was, though. It was totally like that. And so I remember animal consciousness. I remember animals, like the energy of animals showing up, like coming to visit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see all this amazing stuff, and I would be aware of an amazing possibility that's never been available before.
Mm-hmm.
And this energy would be showing me stuff, and I would be going, wow, this is amazing. Who is this person who's going to do this thing? Because this stuff is phenomenal. I can't wait to play. Who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
And always at the back of my mind, I wondered, would it be me? But it took me like 2 years to actually finally get the full message. And that time when literally the moment when I got the message, I got a message from a friend of mine who's a very gifted lady, a woman called Hazel Raven. I don't know if you've ever come across her. She's an incredible authority on things to do with angels and crystals.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and Reiki, she brought Reiki to the UK from a
Oh,
man.
right.
Mhm.
Interesting. I would love to talk to her. So
Yeah,
that's
wow. She's
yes.
amazing.
Okay.
And she got a message. She sent me a message at that moment, literally at this moment where I got finally the penny dropped. I got a message from Hazel Raven. She said, the angels are wondering when you're going to get on with the jobs that you've been
There you
given
go.
to do. And so it was very quick after that. We had a series of meditations, and I would hold the space for like 2 days, and I would be given this guided visualization where we would work together for, like, it could be half an hour, 3/4 to an hour or longer. And then each of us would have particular roles in this series, in this sessions. And then it would be, I'd open up the space, and then one by one, everybody would add their energy to this really beautiful session. And everybody who was involved in those sessions, they saw amazing things happen in their lives, but much more maybe interesting was what they saw showing up on the planet. And also the things that would show up during the session. They were very powerful sessions. And I would perceive this energy coming in from different places. Sometimes it would be, each session had a different thing going on, but sometimes, quite often actually, I would see these so it's difficult to put these things into words, but it was like I was like the pivot point for the
For the group.
it sounds like
Okay.
pivot point for the planet, actually, for this
Okay.
particular kind of
Okay.
energy thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Okay.
and then there'd be stuff happening around the planet. And anyway, so it's not to make it overly significant, because I've never actually been totally interested in making anything significant. The animals have made it very clear they don't really enjoy being labeled like this
Okay.
animal means this thing and this animal means that thing. They have every amount of allowance that you can imagine or not imagine around being labeled. Um, but they've always said to me, there's way more possible beyond definition. And so that's always been how we've played in these sessions. And then since then, I took a little break for a few years. And about 2 years ago, again, well, it never really stopped, to be quite honest, but about 2 years ago, things started to like go up a few gears, and it goes up by a lot of gears at a time often. And then like a year ago, I was invited to come to what I've affectionately called Animal Consciousness Boot Camp, where I'd be animals would be I'd be going to classes with animals. Obviously, my dog from years ago, he's no longer with us, but various animals have been showing up to give me downloads of information and to make it possible for me to facilitate people who had an interest in playing like this with animals and animal consciousness.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. So if individuals come to you for facilitation, let's see, how does the session go? So do you connect and animals show up, or do you work with the oversoul of a specific animal? How does that go?
Well, with all things, it's not really so much of interest for me to push my point of view onto other people. I'm much more interested in facilitating what somebody's looking for. And also sometimes what will happen, someone will show up for a session and they'll say something, and then I will notice that there is some animal or some energy that desires to communicate or impart some information to them. And so every single session is completely different. I couldn't actually say that this happens or this happens.
Okay.
I'm just always interested in delivering the energies which are up for everybody. Because this is the thing is, like I had a session today, a mother and her daughter came for a session today, and it wasn't about, we didn't actually talk about animals in this session. I don't just do animals. It was, in this case, there was a lot of fairy energies. And
wow, I picked that up, man. And that is one of my questions.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
so and so they're like, and it's so fascinating. I'm just using this as an example because I know this lovely young woman's mother for a while, and and yet within the same family, mother and daughter have such different energies. And I know I've met two others of her daughters as well, and they each have very different energies. And so that even just within one family, you can have so much variety, so that you could never predict what's going to
Yeah.
show up in a session. I've never had two sessions remotely the same. Even when I do my crystal healing, I don't do anything formulaic at all. I've always paid attention to whatever it is that shows up, and I've got out of the way largely to so like what I've learned that if I get out of the way while making sure that everything is like safe and that there's no kind of interference, for some people that's useful to hear. While I make sure of that, I have a willingness to pay attention to the energies that show up and deliver exactly what's required, because I've noticed over the years, many years ago actually, I realized that every time I hold back from delivering what's showing up to be delivered in a session.
Mm.
It's that weird thing that requires to be delivered, which is what makes the change for somebody.
I see. Okay, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so for someone who has never worked with animals, let's say, how can they start receiving from animals or animal consciousness? How do they get to be where you are right now?
Wow. I love that question. Thank you. I really am so grateful that you asked that
Uh-huh.
question. So I'm just asking myself, where is it that we can start
Mm,
right now?
mm,
I'm wondering actually whether some kind of an exercise
mhm,
would be useful now. So
mhm.
if you are willing, I'm going to speak to the energies which are up here right now.
Sure.
I may say something completely different with the
Mm,
same question another time. I'm
that's
just going to
absolutely
pay attention to what's showing up right here, right now. Okay,
sure.
so first of all, I would I'm would like to express the gratitude that is here to everybody who's chosen to listen or watch this right now, because there is a sense that there have been choices which have led to each of you coming here right now to participate in this. And whether or not you currently find yourself open to this or not, please know I have no point of view. It's all completely fine. Um, there is no sense in pushing anything onto anybody who is not willing. And that's not what I'm about at all. And more importantly, neither are the animals. But if you are interested in receiving something maybe different about you that becomes possible when you play with animals, let's see what gets created now. So right now, I invite you to place your hands on your body with a sense of gratitude for the embodiment that you have right now on this planet, that's unlike any embodiment that's ever been available any time before. And thank you so much for choosing to be on the planet right now, because you make a difference to all of us and to everything. Wow. So, in front of me, I perceive like a band of animals, and each of these animals is stepping forward to stand in front of each of you. So, whatever animal or several animals you become aware of, would you be willing to allow them to approach you? Are you asking for something like this? And while I have been playing with animals for some time, I do currently find some of the tools from Access Consciousness really helpful. The questions make it possible to make the changes that are required for you to be you. And so I'm going to use a question that's arising. I can see something forming. So, what energy, what space, what consciousness and choice can you and your body be to perceive, know, be, and receive everything that's possible now? And I'm going to be that undefined. Okay. So, what animal is standing in front of you? What animal is rubbing against your leg? What animal is sitting on your shoulder or your head or your nose? What is the sensation that your body is aware of? What is your body feeling? If you ever gave yourself a hard time about the ways in which you perceive things or perceive yourself not perceiving things, would you be willing to have the kindness for you and your body and the being that's coming to sit with you, to let even just 1%, 10%, 2%, 100%, 150%, whatever it is, just let go, whatever amount works for you, without force, without any pressure, through the kindness for your own presence, to receive your own nurturing for your body and your being. Now I am inviting you to send energy out towards the animal with you. And know then also that the animal is also sending some energy in front of it to meet yours. Now this energy which is combined, I now ask you to create a bubble around your body, just so that you get to perceive how this energy dances together. So to the animal in front of you, have you a question that you would like to ask it? Maybe this animal has some awareness, something in your life that you are looking to change. Maybe you have capacities that you would like to augment. And this is the thing. We are meeting animals at a level where we are equal to each other. We're not looking to the animal to answer our questions. And we're not looking to have ownership of the animals either. We're sharing a space together now where you get to be all that you be, and the animal also. And while the animal may or may not have greater ease in being all it truly is, this animal may also be able to show you, by virtue of their presence alone, a way for you to be all that you truly be. And although I never said it in so many words, are you aware or are you not that this space that you're being with this animal, or however many animals, is a space of oneness? And anything that isn't oneness here, if any of that remotely true, maybe this would be the time to just let all of that filter out of your bubble. Yeah. Let that filter out of your bubble and float away to wherever it comes from. What kindness can you have for you? What appreciation can you be for you? It takes courage, tremendous beauty to choose to have this kind of presence, and the presence that's beyond this, which I gather you can also perceive now. Animals, what is it that you could show us in the next 3 days that would bring us more awareness of who we are, what our contribution is, and all the ways we could have greater fun doing the things that we need to do, the practical things. What joy of embodiment is possible? What can you show us? And if we would each be willing to let go of all the judgments we have that come up regarding any animals at all, whether it's spiders, flies, dogs, cats, tigers, dinosaurs, whatever it is that shows up over the next 3 days, every time something comes up, maybe you would ask yourself if that idea about that animal is even remotely yours. And if it isn't actually yours, would you be willing, at least for the next 3 days, to let that go so that you could actually receive what is true for you with that animal? And now I perceive the animals are just gently stepping back, and yet, while they step back, the sense of who we be remains. Thank you so much, kind animal beings, for showing us what you've shown us right now, and also what I perceive we will be receiving in the next 3 days or longer. And thank you so much for all of you for choosing to participate in that.
Oh my God. How am I to continue now? Continue the conversation. Oh God, it's like I had a flesh, body flesh. Like I could sense things leaving from my body. Oh my God, it was, I can't explain. I think I'm giving up explaining.
Don't bother.
It
Yeah.
was so wonderful, and so grateful. This is amazing. You should be doing it in a global scale.
Well, I have been. I have been doing it in the past, and it's time for me now because things have really changed a lot. I mean, even what we used to do before was of that kind of nature, but the energies that are available now are really extraordinary. And for those who are willing, because the thing is, we talk about it being animal consciousness, but really it's not about defining it as animal consciousness, but what the animals are demonstrating is this capacity for oneness where there is no judgment. You don't think that one animal is judging another animal, no matter if they hunt them down to kill them. There is no judgment in that at all. And even when we do stuff to animals which isn't kind, they also have no point of view. And so there's something that animals are showing us,
Absolutely.
which makes it easier for us to be that.
That's very profound, isn't it? Even when we do something to them, they don't have a point of view. That's
No,
extremely profound.
it's
And
really,
we get agitated for silly words.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's true. And yet, see, they don't judge any of us for having those, like you said, reacting to silly words.
exactly, yeah.
That means nothing to, they're just such a beautiful invitation to a different possibility.
Absolutely. And I think, there is no point in going into questions that come from mind about, kind of trying to define or analyze how these things work. So there is no point in it. So what I would like to ask here is, you have
Yes.
given a great start for the listeners, the viewers. Okay, so if they like to develop on their own, of course they can play this exercise over and over again.
Yes.
So, or can do you also conduct classes, or can they do anything on their own to develop this, oneness through animal consciousness? Or is there any other practice that you would recommend?
These are all great questions. So, um, I have what I was doing a little while ago was something called animal meditations, and now it's become something that's called play with animals.
Mhm.
And so you can find me on Facebook. I have a page called Play with Animals, and also I have a page called Anhartara Healing, which is sort of an extension of that, or one is the extension of the other. It doesn't matter. But I have started again with like this new energy, and so I really warmly invite anybody who is interested to come and join us. Also, I can do one-to-one sessions or group sessions, and if there were enough people and people wanted to bring me to facilitate group sessions where they are, I certainly open to that. There are so many possibilities with this.
Absolutely.
I I would also playing the little session that we just did then, back over and over. Could people could pay attention to what they're aware of,
Mhm.
and if you were willing, all of you, to drop any points of view that you have about animals, and also if you'd have the kindness to drop as many points of view you have or judgments you have about your own self and your body. I think I get the sense always that that would be a great help to accomplishing something greater in terms of things of this nature. But yeah, there's a lot that's possible, and I'm really delighted to play with anybody who chooses it.
Cool. So probably one last question to inspire, people to kind of explore more on this, or, choose this. this kind of practice or work. So, can you share probably a healing story or success story that you have had? Of course, apart from me, it was, what we had was a very, very casual conversation, and you brought some energies of whales and the dolphins. I
Mm.
remember. Okay, it was a casual conversation, and that happened to me. So, apart from me, is there anything, any story you can share to inspire viewers?
Specifically with animals or
With animals.
with animals?
Mm.
Okay, cool. So, which of the stories would like to come forward shared right now? So, yeah, cool. Let me. I'm. There are lots of different. So I'm getting. See what happens when I start talking with about animal consciousness. They all come forward. They all decide to share various things, and I'm getting all kinds of downloads, and everyone's going like, "Talk about me. Talk about talk about me."
Let's have a podcast for all of them. Come on, bring it on.
Yeah, awesome. Um, now, so I'm just gonna. So this is the one that's coming up right now. So
Mhm,
recently, I gave a session to somebody, um, and it was an hour session, and it was very undefined. I it was like an energy transmission of sorts, and um, all kinds of. So because for people who are willing to be so undefined, you can just be present and facilitate the energies there, and you may have a few words, but it doesn't necessarily have to be terribly linear.
mhm.
But she sent me a message, I think I only got it yesterday or the day before, where she said, wow, that session, that changed so much. She said, like, all this bunch of things showed up in her life immediately afterwards. The next few days were totally phenomenal, and she had loads more clients, like you said.
Uh-huh.
Like you said, she said, like, I had, people buying massive packages of sessions and stuff. And so, like, see, this is what I really get about this stuff. We're not delivering anything more than what that being truly is.
Mhm,
So when you get to have, like you perceived right then, that loads of things like disappeared from your body, when that shows up, when the things that are stopping you from receiving the bounty of the universe, then all kinds of beautiful things show up, and you
mhm.
never know exactly how it's going to be. You,
That's the one thing I learned.
you don't know at all how it's going to show up, but something I've never known it to be anything but delightful. But
Mm.
you know, I don't know all the things that are going to show up for people. Um, yeah, I realize that's a really undefined response to your
That's
question.
great. That's great. Okay. So cool. So let's ask the viewers. So, what would you like to create? So, after this session, after this exercise, how did your life change? Would you be able to tell us? Would you like to hear from Ruth again? Would you like to have some more exercises? Would you like to play with some more animals? Do let us know, okay? So it's your choice. Whatever you like to create, we can create together. And Ruth, I can't thank you enough. It is absolutely sweet. I feel like burden from my, or it feels like I have offloaded a lot of burden from my shoulders. My shoulders have been quite tight,
Mm.
and most of the sensations I felt was from shoulders when we were doing that exercise. It's as if things have been taken out literally, physically. And I also felt palms of, or what do you call, palms or paws, what? I'm not even getting the words, of the animals on my lap. And
Oh,
I'm not a great animal lover, okay? So it's not like explicitly I have pets and animals, but the sweetness I experienced cannot be explained. And I'm so, 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 so grateful for you and the loads of animals that showed up in my universe. And hopefully I can get to have them, I mean, always with me, supporting me, having fun with me, playing with me. and, and what contribution can it be for them as well? So it was beautiful. Ruth, do tell me how it was for you.
well, it's always really moving. I come close to tears if I don't tear up during these sessions, because um, the appreciation that animals have for us, they know it's not easy. They know our lives are not easy, and they know it takes a great deal of courage to be present in a body, and they really have our backs. And
When you see, I was feeling feeling a lot of things going on in my back, and you're saying they have our back.
that's
Cool.
how it goes. That's how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, for me, I consider it a great honor and a privilege to, and even though I had all these things show up in when I was super tiny, and I might have known all of these things were going to happen in my life, and at the same time, I never stopped having a sense of tremendous awe when it comes to matters like these. Um, it's a level of beauty that I relish and delight in. And I have witnessed time and time again how it's melted people's worlds.
Mm.
And how does it get better than that?
Yes, 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 yes. Wow. I
Mm.
kind of get a lot of download now. I'm going to
Good.
record something right after this call.
Great, that's it. And I would also be very interested to hear from you,
Sure.
what shows up over the next few days, Nila.
Yes, I will. I will. Probably, who knows? We will probably have a continuation call of this
Nice. I look forward to that if that happens.
as a result of this. Thank you so much.
It's
And very,
great.
very grateful.